Obviously, we've got a lot of people here, and sometimes we have more, sometimes we have less, but it's all about how we all see different issues, topics, ideas. Sometimes it's serious, sometimes it's not so serious, but it's always authentic. And that's why we like this group that we brought together, Lynn, and that keep coming back because we found people that obviously have nothing better to do on Tuesday nights, which is good. And but we also found people who are just unabashedly themselves and authentic people, and that's what we love. There's enough fake out there, and there's enough people just saying things to make everybody else happy. There's enough of that. On this show, it's all about what we honestly think, what we honestly feel, and certainly lots of mutual respect for each other and our backgrounds. So, and I mean the backgrounds behind us. All right, so.
And we got Rex Sykes tonight and Scott, we call him Two Hips Schilling, and then the one and only relationship guru here, Barry Selby. So welcome aboard, everybody.
I mean, technically, shouldn't it be Scott Four Hips Schilling?
That's right.
Yeah. Why don't we just say it's Scott Hip Hip Hooray Schilling?
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm good with whatever.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, whatever Schilling.
But, I'm going to plug this in real quick, and I'll probably plug it in at the end of the show. But Mr. Schilling, to get to know him a little bit more personal up front, he's going to be on the Find It show that I produce on Wednesday night. So go check him out over there.
Excellent.
Yeah, with Debbie Bettendorf.
Excellent. So tonight's topic is, what is Scott Schilling thinking? I have a career. What the hell am I doing here? No. No, actually, no, that's great, Scott. I look forward to seeing you. Debbie, one of our friends, great interviewer too. Just a natural talent.
She is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So go ahead about the topic today.
All right, let's bring about the topic today, which is faith in something, and I left it kind of wide open. And every once in a while, one of us will slip out a little bit about, maybe our religious beliefs or something else. I'm not talking about necessarily religion, unless that's what you want it to be. That's certainly your prerogative. But one of the things that I had to find to start putting my life together, which happens for me later in life, obviously, because of my addictions, was that I had to start to have faith in something other than my own thinking. And it's necessary for me to be teachable as well, is to say that maybe somebody else has something that I don't have. That's an act of faith. Maybe their idea might be better than my idea. That's an act of faith. And trying new things. So many times, a lot of what we're doing is kind of that leap of faith. Even if it's just listening to a new idea, it's a leap of faith. And I wanted to kind of touch base with you guys about your experiences with that. Do you see that as kind of like a pinnacle idea in your learning and your growing in your process is to be able to have faith in things outside of you? Because a lot of times we're taught, you can only count on you. You can only, you have to be the center of the universe. You got to count on you. Nobody's going to help you. That's kind of a recipe for disaster. I mean, although I am responsible for what I do, if I could only count on me in this world, I'd be a very lonely human being, and I'd be very stupid because I wouldn't learn anything from anybody. So having faith in things other than myself, that there are other ideas and better ways out there for me, has been really, really important. So I just wanted to kind of get kind of your scope on how you guys felt about that, what it means to you to have faith in something, and we'll go from there. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, we're ready.
Good topic, Scott. I'll go. I'll lead it off. Why not?
Thank you.
I think the key is having faith in a higher source of some sort, whatever you choose to call it. That's up to you. But I think it is in a higher source than us individually. For me, it's God and Jesus Christ. For somebody else, it might be Buddha, Allah, Hindi, the universe, whatever you choose to call it. I'm good with. My card does not say judge and jury. My card says be a living example of your belief. Do the best job you can with that. Create an environment for people to want what you have. If they do, great, you talk about it. And if they don't, great, you don't talk about it. I mean, you can either way. It's not It's there's a pretty good definition: confidence in the unseen, assurance. You would never be in business if you didn't have faith, because you have confidence in the unseen. Nobody has responded to your online presence or your brick and mortar business. Assurance of the unknown. You don't know exactly what's going to happen when you do get into business. So the fact is, I would suggest that anybody who's in business by default has faith. They have to. Now, what their faith is in is that's up to them. And again, I just, I don't know why you would want to, the collective you would want to say you're it, because that means if you're it, all the pressure is on you. That means everything is up to you. That means every decision on 8 billion people, and there's some dumbasses out there. So the fact is,
you heard it here, folks. Tell us how you feel.
No finger pointing.
No, but I mean,
let's not get too scientific here with those terms.
Well, no, but I mean, I'm just saying that
it
makes sense to have faith in whatever you choose to call it, higher source, I call it, and then I refine it down to my higher source. Everybody doesn't have to believe in what I believe, but what I think people need to do is whatever it is they believe, they need to represent that with as much quality, respect, honor, and dignity that they possibly can.
I like
okay, that. Everybody's asleep. This is good.
And
we heard everything. That's all, folks.
No, that's good. And I like the way you say to represent that with dignity and certainly respect and respect for other people's thoughts and values as well. Right. Unfortunately, what you end up with is a lot of zealots out there running around saying what I believe is the only thing that you should believe in. And I mean, it becomes like American politics. It becomes like Republicans and Democrats. It becomes everything you say is wrong because there's a D behind your name as a Democrat. Everything you say is wrong because there's an R. Everything you think is wrong because you go down to the mosque instead of going to my church. So, sometimes faith could be used as a weapon a whole lot more than it could be used as something to lift us all up too. So that's a scary idea, right?
I should send an invite to Randy and see if he shows up.
Oh, there you go.
Great on this panel.
What do you think? What do you think, Barry? What do you think, Barry?
The thing for me though is real faith doesn't have an againstness to anything. You believe in something, not against something. People who believe people have faith against things. That's not real faith. So that's a whole that's a whole other topic anyway. But the thing I want to speak to, let's go spiritual for a second. I grew up in a Jewish family, had my own spiritual crisis during my teen years, and basically on a spiritual path in my early 20s, which have been on for the last decades. My own experience of relationship to spirit, whatever you want to call it, is mine. Not anybody else's, just mine. So speaking to Scott's point, it's like having respect for other people means that level of understanding that somebody else's relationship to their God, spirit, deity, whatever that is theirs. Even if you're in the same religious teaching, it's still theirs. And so our challenge is not to compare our relationship to a higher power with somebody else's relationship to a higher power. Because it's really tempting to start looking at somebody else and going, oh, they don't believe in anything. You don't know that. So for me, it's a really personal relationship, so to speak, because it is. My relationship to what I call God is not the same as somebody else's relationship. And that is something that when we understand it as a community, as a population, as a world, even as a country, will change all of what we do to each other. Because right now, and has been the case for millennia, is that more people were killed because of religion than anything else.
Well, and they always say, don't talk about politics, religion, and,
sex.
Stuff like that. And sex, did you say?
That's the other one they usually throw in there, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. But
now you do.
That's so ambiguous these days. How can you talk about it?
Oh, look, Randy decided to show up. Hi,
Hey, what's up?
Randy. Thanks for coming on.
Well,
Just
of course. I
decided-
mean, I was sitting there eating my diet cookies, so I figured I might as well jump on.
Yeah, there you go. I thought you could hop into this.
Don't
The
laugh, Rex.
subject-
There are diet cookies. My wife told me they are. Well, thanks for having me on. Yeah, how you guys all doing?
Good. I'm not
All
sure
right,
how
all
much
right.
you've
Thanks for
heard
being
about
here,
our
man.
topic.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I jumped on a minute ago. I was still taking care of business. Life just don't end at 6 o'clock, right?
Well, Jonesy, you want to
No,
just
absolutely not.
give a little brief but what Barry just said.
Well, what we're
is right,
talking
that
about,
personal-
no,
go-
yeah, the necessity for faith in something, faith beyond yourself, faith in other people. Maybe people practice religious faiths or spiritual faiths, but you got to be able to look beyond yourself if you want to succeed. And looking beyond yourself, counting on somebody else, and doing those things are all acts of faith. And as Scott Schilling said it really well, if you opened a business, you're already practicing that because you have no idea what's going to happen. But you, on faith, you're believing that if I do the right things will happen and the business will build. So I want to talk about how important that was in each of our lives and what faith has meant to us, whether it's been here on the mortal realm of believing in other people and trusting other people, or maybe on a spiritual realm of higher powers and higher energies beyond us. But that's where we're at, Randy. So I hope you're all caught up. And we're going to
caught up.
Go to Rex right now.
Yeah,
Right.
not so much. It's an interesting thing. There's certain all the world's religions, all have essentially some ingredient that is very similar and some that are dissimilar. Kind of like people show up at a party, if they're all wearing clothes, you can say, well, they all are dressed, but they're dressed in different fashion. So different flavors of the same ice cream or something. So I'm not a huge fan of faith outside of myself, because when you say higher power, it also assumes there's a lower power or there's a lesser power. And I would argue that the lesser power and the higher power are both part of the same thing or aspects of the same thing. There's no difference between them. In the Christian religion, God and Satan didn't exist before God, kind of thing, so, you get in these tautologies and different things that create difficulty for people. Do I believe in myself versus, a higher power outside of myself? Absolutely not. I am that higher power. The difference is that Rex isn't that higher power. That higher power is Rex and Scott and Barry and Randy and Lynn and everybody, and so it's not an ego thing like I am a higher power. It's that the higher power is invested in all of us, and we're simply an expression of it. And there's as many different expressions as there are cells or atoms in the universe. And when you say, do you believe in something, you have to believe. You have faith. There's faith that is active, like I'm believing that I can succeed in business. And if you take the biblical injunction, faith without works is dead. Meaning, if you're an example, a living example of faith, you should have compassion and generosity and care and kindness. What you do to the least of these, you've done unto me, kind of thing. But that said, you expect to get up tomorrow. That's faith, but you don't think I'm believing I'm getting up tomorrow. You just wake up. You go, tomorrow I'm going to do this. You plan, you plot, you do all the things that you were going to do. You go, I'm going to go home and watch TV. And yet lots of people don't get home in a given day, but they expect to. So, we have faith in all. We expect to stay walking on the planet, not float up into space. And you say, well, that's maybe not faith, but yeah, in some ways it is. But it's also experience. And that's the thing that makes a difference. One thing is head. The other is the experience of it. I have the experience of not floating up into the sky, so I don't have to think much about it. So if I have the experience of manifesting goodness and being connected with a higher power or being the higher power, then I don't have to do the math. I don't have to sit here and try and figure it out and go through all the mental machinations of trying to work up my faith in order to do something, because it's an experience that we have. If you understand that you are, there's nothing, take the physics side of it. If there's nothing but energy, and that energy is equally distributed through all time and space, which is a human construct, by the way. There is no time. There's just, because we measure time. There is no space because only humans measure space. You know, the planets aren't going, okay, it's 5 past a billion years, or it's, look at how far I've been hurtling through space now, forever. You know, we do that. And granted, there are cycles given our but there's only energy, can't be created, destroyed, only transformed as far as we know. So then if everything is energy, there's nothing that's not energy. So change the word. If everything is God, or everything is a higher source, or everything is infinite intelligence, or everything is, then there's nothing that isn't it. So you either own it, own up to it, or you act as if you're not it. And if you act as if you're not it, then you're living beneath your means.
Well, and I think we go by blind
Excellent.
faith a lot, you guys.
By blind faith?
Yeah. I mean, because people have
I
the different
drive like this, but I don't do my game.
you know. But I'm just saying, like, I think so many people have, you know, faith in a person or this or that. There's like so many different, you know, what's that?
Misplaced faith?
Yes, faith. Yeah, right. You know, like they can trust that the plane will get them there or something, but it's like, but then you don't have faith for something else. You know what I mean? Like you could think, you know, miracles, but then you don't have faith in something else. Like you see miracles everywhere, but then all of a sudden when you need a miracle, where's your faith? You know, that kind of thing. Hey, Tim.
Tim says, here in Texas, I swear lots of people drive by faith, LOL.
You don't need to swear while you're driving. Don't
And
swear.
then after that, they moved to Montana. So anyways. That in California. So,
No.
Randy, are you ready to go next?
Sure. You know, I was just thinking as you was talking, you know, I find for myself, if I have faith in my basic abilities, I mean, I'm far from perfect. I did a video a couple of days ago. I think I'm going to post one of these days. It's in a series. And I mean, I'm about as I'm pretty capable of being as messed up as you can get sometimes. But I also have faith that at the end of the day, I'm going to do what's right. I'm going to do it well or as well as I can. And I've always operated under this faith or idiocy. One or the other, probably close, is, you know, I tend to learn just enough about things to climb to the 84th floor and jump off and figure out how to fly on the way down. And, you know, sometimes I've crashed and burned, but you know, what's always happened when I crashed and burned is I figured out what the hell doesn't work. Yeah. I figured out, well, shit, that hurt. And I don't think I'm going to do that crap again. Right. But it's not a negative. It's a negative experience at the moment. Right. But after you shake the cobwebs off and you walk around and you smack a wall a time or two going, why did I do that? That was pretty stupid. You're going, wow, I kind of know what doesn't work, so I probably won't do that again. So I think there's a lot of ways that faith comes into play. And I like to think of a lot of times as, you know, not arrogance or cockiness, but yeah, I think I can do that. So I'm just going to say yes, and we'll figure it out.
So you just touched on the whole thing of having faith within yourself.
Right.
You know, and that's, yeah. So
I think you got to believe in yourself. If you don't, there's probably not a whole lot of other people that will, right? I mean, there's some, we all have some that will, but nobody believes in yourself as much as you believe in yourself. Right. And I think if you don't take that leap of faith in yourself and just go, you know what, I know everybody else thinks this is probably about the dumbest thing I ever heard, but we're going to give this a shot because I think we can make this work. And so, yeah, that's kind of the way I live. And, you know, lucky I've learned to fly more than I've crashed, but believe me, I've crashed.
Thanks for hopping in on at the last minute there, Randy. Nice
Absolutely.
to see you.
Well, thanks. It's good to see you guys.
Absolutely.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah. So. Mr. Entrepreneur and podcaster himself.
I like what you just said there about, I like how you talked about the, you know, faith in yourself. And I'm going to kind of put that together with what Rex was saying about experiential is part of faith. It's like, listen, I've been able to do things before. I should be able to do this as well. I think sometimes how we look upon our experiences is going to dictate how we move forward and whether we have faith in ourselves or not. A lot of people who have gone through things like I've gone through with addictions and illnesses and other things that have happened, look at themselves and say, I've been cursed. I've had a horrible life. It's been terrible. And, you know, I almost died 10 times and I had this happen. I've been in jail. But if I look at it this way, it's like, I almost died 10 times, but I survived. I went to jail, but I turned that around. I lost my kids, but I got them back. And I start looking at all those things and I'm saying, what can't I do? So I think sometimes we have the experiential evidence, but we're blind to what we've actually accomplished. Rex, am I touching on something there that makes sense?
Well, no, I agree with you. I wouldn't ask what can't I do. I'd say, look at how many things I've done. I can do anything. You know, I mean,
right.
But there's just I think that we've been sold, you know, a bill of goods that says you must have faith. Now, if you look at all the different religions, most of them have faith. If you go to the Bible, you can go through the evolution of Christianity or from the start of Judaism all the way through and find out that there's a number of franchises there too that believe differently about things. But essentially, in the Old Testament as well as the New Testament, before anything was a miracle happened, the God of the Old Testament required them to take an action, do something first without any. Noah, for example, was told to go build an ark, you know, because it's going to rain, and everybody thought he was a nutbag, and he was until it rained, you know, according to the story. You know, they had to blow horns and scream in order for the walls of Jericho to fall down. If they didn't do it, the walls wouldn't fall down. So they had to act before the action actually took place. They had to have the faith. But we've been sold this thing like you got to believe in yourself. And yes, but some things don't require faith. You don't get up in the morning, or confidence is a big one. You must have confidence in order to succeed. Well, I don't need to get confident to go to the refrigerator and grab a drink, you know, water, or go to the bathroom or cross the room to pet my dog. That doesn't require confidence. So why do we need confidence in order to be in business, or faith in order to succeed, or faith to be happy, or any of these things? These should be things that are just naturally part of us, but we've been so conditioned to think less of ourselves that we don't deserve, or that we can't do things. Why Henry Ford said, if you think you can't or you think you can, you're correct. But then people, the very solution that most people have to their problems is often the problem itself, because they think, I got to have confidence in order to do this. And you don't. I got to have this I got to have money in order to start a business. I have to be young in order to, too old to do something. So I can't, you know, so the things that we believe faithfully sometimes aren't that good because we're societally conditioned. And what we just need to do is understand that it's a whole lot simpler than we tend to make it. And probably a whole lot easier if we don't overthink it and try to complicate it. And there will be those times when you might have to give. It's like, I always say this, you know, massive action is a hoax. It's a myth. It's a big thing. You can't spend your life taking massive action. It's kind of like if your car is stuck in the mud, you might need some extra effort to get it out. But once it's out, you don't have to keep taking the action. You know, if the bear has been chasing you in the woods and you get away, you can stop running, for God's sakes. You know, you don't have to keep fleeing. So there are going to be moments when you might have to do a little bit more than other moments. And sometimes that may be massive. Or there's a lot of times where a whole lot less is required than what we think is required. And so many people are selling this bill of goods that if you don't do all these things, you will never make it. And so people continue to succumb to this notion that they aren't enough, that it isn't possible, you know, and that I better have faith in myself. And so they spend all this time trying to develop the faith instead of acting and doing and experiencing. And you know, I don't have to have massive faith to go dig a hole in the ground, do I? And plant a seed and then go, I hope it grows. I believe it's going to grow. I believe it's going to grow. I believe it's going to grow. And have faith in God and the universe and in myself that, you know, you just go plant a seed, for crying out loud. And then the seed will take care of the rest of it. You know, everything will take care of itself. And if it doesn't, plant another seed.
It's like you've heard that saying, have faith in the process, you know.
I thought you could say have Nagela.
No. No, but I usually use the analogy of, you know, you don't plant a watermelon and keep digging it up to see if it's going to be a watermelon, you know. You got to have faith that it's what, it's, you know, the package is right or the seed is right. If you actually dried it up and, planted it from the watermelon itself. So
I think what we see a lot though is we see a lot of I understand what you're saying about if I can dig a hole, why can't I go do that? I mean, yeah, I get it. And we equate things on we equate things on different levels.
Right.
It's like, yeah, I could do my algebra test, but I can't sit down to fill out my tax forms, which are actually not as complicated as that algebra test is. Because letters are not numbers on the tax form. I mean, algebra is a mess. People figure it out. They learn how to do the test, but then they sit down with their 1040 or whatever they got to do and fill out, or their 1060, and they don't know what to do. And they get panicked and they say, oh, I can't do this and I can't handle this. We separate things into categories where we say these things I can do and these things I can't do.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck.
Let me ask you this. Do you want to have faith that you can do your tax form? Or do you want to sit down with somebody who goes, here, let me show you how to do your tax form, and you do it and go, wow, that wasn't so bad. Now you know you can do it. The other thing you have to sit
is
there
an act of faith that I can, but I've got to have faith that I can learn. I've got to have,
or have the patience.
Maybe faith isn't the right word. Maybe faith isn't the right word.
I would agree that I would agree that you ought to want to believe that you can learn anything, because you've learned all sorts of stupid things. Why can't you learn the good things? Right? I mean, we're learning machines, so I agree.
Thank you.
Unless you're an AI.
I don't mean you personally, Scott. I mean all of us. But
it sounded personal.
No, but what I mean is
dude, you can't hurt me. I've been married too much. Okay.
Here's what I say. It's great to believe that you can learn to do almost anything, and if you encounter something that's difficult, you could learn a work through or a workaround or cooperate with other people. That there's always a next step that you might be able to take. That's a useful belief or faith to have. But for you to say, I need to muster up faith in order to do my taxes, or that I can learn to do my taxes, I think it's easier to sit down with somebody who says, here, let me show you how actually easy this is, or get a tutorial or something. You at some point, you always have to be open to the possibility, because if you're close to the possibility, you're not going to do anything. So maybe you need openness more than you need faith, you need to be open to the possibility so that you have the experience, and from that you can develop faith.
Well,
and that's a good word to use, openness. Yes.
Mm-hmm. We forget we have our strong points and our weak points, and sometimes we lean more. Some of your strengths are more difficult tasks and difficult knowledge, and the simple things that don't seem simple to you may seem simple to somebody else.
But I submit to you, Lynn, that some of our strong points are our weakest points, and some of our weakest points could be our strong points, and that's where we get stuck, because we think these are our strengths and these are my weaknesses, and we forget that they're just how we think about it.
Right.
And how do we think about it is based on what?
Your thoughts.
Well, yeah, your perception or your experience or something in your history or whatever.
Right.
So. But that's not to say that you don't have strengths and areas that could be further developed. I'm just saying that a lot of people go, here are my strong parts, but they don't realize how those strengths can also limit them if they can't see beyond them.
Right. Well, it's just like, you got the young kids that can be pilots before they get a driver's license. You're like, how can they do it and I can't, kind of thing. And, it's those kinds of things where you may be impressed because somebody else can do something that you can't. And you don't have faith in yourself that, or you hear those people, boy, I admire you for doing this, or I'm impressed by what you can do. And right away, they're telling how they don't have little faith of themselves.
Well, this will be the last thing I say for just a second, at least. But that is that Jesus said when they were healed, he didn't say, I healed you or God healed you or whatever. He said, go, your faith has made you whole. Yeah. So I'm not saying that faith isn't of value, but it's understanding, that so often our faith is not necessarily helping us because we don't understand how to apply the faith in a way that is useful, because we only apply it from the way we've been conditioned to apply it, and that may or may not be faith.
Right. let's just use faith in, we have doctors. We put a lot of faith in them until something goes wrong, and then you lose your faith. Then you got to find somebody else to put your faith in, in that kind of level. Barry, did you have something you wanted to say?
I was just thinking about the fact that, do you have faith in humanity? That's a big ask, because basically looking around our planet, there are a lot of people I don't have faith in. But as a whole, for the human race, I have faith that we'll continue to grow, to thrive, to maybe get out of the traps we put ourselves in. That's a level of faith that a lot of people don't play at. Because like Rex is saying, a lot of people's faith is a very basic level. With a newspaper shop tomorrow at my door, that's faith. But some people carry that energy. Certain things for me in the area of working in relationships, I've said this, and talking about the spiritual power, the power of God, whatever you call that. I put up a quote. I don't know, I made up one a couple of years ago, something along the lines of about soulmates. A lot of people have faith that they're going to find their soulmate. Well, my thing is like, here's the thing. I personally believe that God is a very benevolent, kind, loving God. There it is. The new version's out now, by the way. Came out last week.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. Just for a slight reordering, tweaking. Anyway, I said that basically that I believe God is a kind and benevolent God. If God was a kind and benevolent God, it, she, they, whatever you call it, wouldn't give you one soulmate amongst 8 billion people. It wouldn't be fair. So I believe there are lots of soulmates. It's a whole lot easier that way. It's like stack the deck in your favor. So having faith that you're going to meet someone who qualifies is the key thing. Qualifies as a soulmate is a lot easier than finding the one true soulmate. Because some people are so fixated on that, they're never happy because they never find the one they really want. But if you look for the qualities of what you want, if you have faith that you're going to meet someone who matches those qualities, then you can have a relationship that works. But that's the level I'm talking about, that level of faith in any area of life, business, money, health, relationship, all those things. You can be having faith in those things happening the way you want. Because a lot of people are saying the other thing about, faith in other people doing things, but you don't have faith in your own bank account. There's a lot of variance in this conversation, so we can cover a lot of territory.
I think a big part of that, though, Barry, is going back to what Rex was saying about experience. We get trained into a lot of our positions, and if you believe that the right set of criteria are going to come together and be a soulmate, that's what you find. You get what you focus on. You're out there looking for it. You're going to see it. Novel concept, right? I mean, we're built to find what we seek. So, it's over time. There is some value to becoming more mature. Code word for older. The fact that there is, the more experiences you have, the more because you've had good ones, you've had less than good ones, you've had all these different things that happen over time. You've gotten to observe so many more things. I was just in one of these conversations this afternoon. I don't know, 5 years ago, maybe everybody's going, gosh, AI is coming, and isn't it going to be amazing? And look at all the stuff that's doing us, and AI's here. And it's like, holy crap, we could get our butts run over by some less than ethical folks that, could take and turn this into something not good. So, I mean, there's all sorts of different things. And I think a big part of it becomes exposure to more truths. All of a sudden there's more truth showing up, and you start to go, oh no, that's not a conspiracy theory, that's a truth, or whatever, however it's been couched before. I mean, it's been cloaked as something else, and now all of a sudden there's very little. See, on one side, I'm just going, that's a stupid statement, Scott. Why would you even say that? I was going to say that there's very little that we don't know anymore. There's probably more that we don't know today than ever. Mm-hmm. The way the it seems to be. So I think all you can do is live for, live your best life for all the right reasons. And on one side, Rex, I totally agree with you that it's not about higher source, because then it does imply lower. I can tell you, I never implied that until you just said that. But yes, it's the source within. If we are one, right, then it is the source within. The point is, it's the idea that you could continually be learning, and that's what this show is about. Is, from the start of the show to the end of the show, there's a whole lot of learning that goes on, and a whole lot of stuff, because we do have a diverse background and experience levels and everything in this, and there's just some amazing points. That's why it's fun to do, because it's fun to come here and learn and go, I could consider that.
I always find at the last minute, when I think, oh, I don't know if I could do this, or don't have the confidence, or this or that, I always say Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. But besides that, I'm always like, you just got to walk by faith. I mean, a lot of times you're in a position where, like example, I got drugged behind a vehicle once. It just was, I had the faith to let go, or else I didn't know what was going to happen, and I mean, a head-on collision in Yellowstone Park once. It was icy and everything. I just had to trust that truck was going to stop beforehand. You just get to a point where you do have to have faith. It's above and beyond you, but you have to just believe. And it's the way faith has helped me.
Well, I think that's actually a great point, Lynn. It's really, whether that's faith or whether it's belief, I think whatever you focus on, whatever you believe, you're going to see a whole lot more of that in your reality than things you don't believe in.
Yeah.
If you inherently think people are good and nice and whatever, it's funny. It's fun just wandering around places and just smiling at somebody to see if they'll smile back. What will their reaction be when you smile at them? Ooh, that guy's creepy.
Yeah.
Oh, that was nice. Oh,
well, at a certain age, it feels creepy. Yeah.
By the way, if you want to freak somebody out, just go up to them and go, "Hi, I want to give you this quarter."
That would be a good one. That'd be a fun one to do, actually.
I have a quarter. I just want to give you the quarter. And like, well, what? Would you want $1? I mean, but here, take my quarter.
No, but I mean, I think that's a big part of it.
Hey, I tried that whole thing going up and smiling at strangers. I tried that whole thing smiling at strangers, and I got 2 responses. One is you're creepy, and 2 is, why are you in my living room? So I get it, what you're saying.
Well, but I mean, I think a big part of it is belief, and over time, if you're consistently learning, your beliefs are going to modify as well. I don't think anybody inherently believes the wrong thing, or wants to learn the wrong things or whatever. They learn what they learn, and therefore they create beliefs around it until more information is available to them, and then they can modify.
Let me ask this to the panel. I mean, in other words, we live in a day and age now where, I mean, you can't know much about anything really. As much of a search you could do, you still have regions of things that you might not understand. Whereas at one time, in our evolution as people, there was a time when some people could know almost everything. The limits of knowledge were much smaller. People believe all sorts of things, and society has a huge impact on us. So if you grew up in a small village where people believe in voodoo and the evil eye, that they will swear up and down, and scientifically it's been validated that the evil eye or a curse, or having an amulet or what, an amulet is something you eat, an amulet is something you wear.
Indeed.
But what I'm saying is that if you have this thing, you can curse another person and they believe it. And so some people, die, or they get diseased or disordered or whatever as a result of having that faith in that system. But we live in a system where, yes, while that's possible, there's a lot of other things. We were sorry to see you go. We hope we love you. We love you.
We love you. His phone just died.
Okay. But what I'm getting at is because we're exposed to so much, instead of having a faith like that in something that produces less than glorious results, or being in a small village somewhere where it would produce extremely wonderful results, we get so distracted and so dissipated and are so bombarded by so many different things that we don't actually choose any one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, we don't even get to experience the fullness of the power that is within us already, or that we could develop or learn to have, because we just never get to have that experience. The placebo effect. I mean, I've talked about this a lot. It doesn't matter whether you believe in a rock or believe in your doctor or believe in the medicine, as long as you have the faith that you're going to get better. People tend to get better, not always, and people can find the counterexamples for when that doesn't seem to work. But the point is that there's enough evidence and proof that it does work to say there's something going on, and that is the power of having faith in something. I want to wrap that into going back to manifestation. I think Barry or Scott, we were all kind of talking about it at one point, but if you expect to get up tomorrow, the sun is going to rise, you're going to get up, you're going to go to work, you're going to do whatever, or you can walk across the room and you can pick up the TV remote. That level of it requires faith. At one time you couldn't do it. As a baby, you couldn't do it. You had to learn how to do it. You had to learn all these different motor skills. You had to learn, to have an intention to be able to do all these things. And you acquired all this stuff so that you walk across the room and pick up your TV remote, not even think about it. And yet for some people, that's an incredible challenge, depending on what's going on with them neurologically or physically or emotionally or whatever, right? But if you can go pick up that thing, why is it then hard to succeed in business or in life or find a romance partner? Why is it that we suddenly make things, I have to have faith in this, because this is the thing. I always tell people, when you become the person for whom manifesting is easy, you don't even have to think about it, then you're manifesting everything. You know how to do it. What happens for most people is they go, I want to manifest, and they don't know. I walk over and pick up my remote. I don't ramp myself up for it, and I don't praise myself after having done it. And it's an act that's let go of. It's just a matter of fact. Because we've cultivated all the different ingredients, the faith, the know-how, the muscle coordination, in order to be able to do that. And the same thing is true with anything in life. If I can say hi to you, you should, or you can say hi to me, you should be able to walk up to the person, who's a stranger and say hi. Like we're talking about smiling. It should come without great cost. But we're scared because we've been conditioned to not believe in ourselves, to not have faith, to not know that it's easier done than said.
So having faith that if you keep taking the actions to acquire the experience or the know how to do something, like in relationships or whatever, then you have to go out, maybe with 100 people or, the numbers game or whatever. But it is a matter of you can't just keep the thought. The thought is in fact, but you got to in fact do the actions in order to get and have faith that in doing the actions, something will come out of the actions that you take.
You always have to be taking action. Rex, when you were talking, it's making me think of a buddy of mine that's now dropped over 100 pounds, who's been trying to do it forever and couldn't do it. And all of a sudden somebody said, dude, you are the best internet marketer there is. You have done more A/B split testing than anybody on the planet. You have gone through every piece of crap there is and kept on doing it until you figured it out. And you can't lose weight. And all of a sudden he put that same thought process into losing weight. And now he's down over 100 pounds and flying. So it does become part of what we assign to things, part of, importance, part of experience, any and all of those things. And whatever, it's interesting because there are times where I know personally, I'll say things here and then Rex will say something and I go, damn, that was really good, Rex. and it's like, why didn't I say that? And then I go, well, because I haven't been on the same path as Rex. He's saying it a different way. And now I know more. Now I can do better. And so I think that becomes the far more of, perfection. There's only one guy, and Rex is going to say that may be not true, that there was only one guy that was perfect. But the the fact is that that's not the goal. It's continual improvement, it's expansion, it's growth, it's continuing to go forward. And any and all of this is, at the very least, this show presents a lot of different things for consideration. And when that's what it takes is open. It goes back to the openness. Another Rex word. Damn it, Rex.
Well, that's why I consider him my mentor. I just love Rex so much. It's like you got to find the faith in your mind shift in everything. You got to,
Yeah.
And I know this is a plug for Rex, but it's no joke. It helped me from the minute I bought this book, and he gives you a free course. He talks about that whole thing of just being like a child and being open to learn new things and to receive things. And I think that really would help in the faith department, because when you realize you have to have faith in a lot of things, like you can be going down the stairs and needing a railing to hold on to. You have faith that if you hold on to that, you're not going to fall. You know what I mean? There's just so many different things that we do take blind faith or leap of faith in. And then there's other things that we just, why don't you put the same effort or thought into in order to expand on that?
So something that Scott said.
I want to go ahead.
Go ahead. Because something about importance, and I want to use that one as well, because that's something that comes up a lot for people too. Is when it's something that's not that important, you just like, it's done. It's easy. We don't have attachments to being a certain way. The challenge, I think, for faith is that we get caught up in the fact when it's something very big and so very important, we don't know if it's going to happen or not. And we don't have faith. It's almost like we have faith in certainty, but we don't have faith when it's not certain. And when it's a big thing, we have a lot of issue with that. And so that dance we have with faith, it's easy to have faith when it's certain. The sun's going to come up tomorrow, easy. Have faith in that. But the fact you're going to make $1 million tomorrow, you don't know if you have faith in that. That's that's hard to conceptualize. So sometimes faith is a challenge because we sit in this dance between easy and hard, or important or not important. And that's where we get caught up.
Great point, Barry.
Absolutely. That's exactly the point I was just about to make. Thank you, Barry. You said it
You're
better
welcome.
than I was about to say it too.
It's the accent.
It's the accent. It's,
you left Jersey too quick, Scott.
Jersey people. And thanks to Two Hips here, I think next week we're going to rename our show Damn It, Rex. We're just going to rename it Damn It, Rex. But I got to tell you, I was thinking about that as Rex was speaking, then Scott and Barry, as you just said. Me getting up to get the remote, there's not a lot of consequence attached to that. There's not a lot of, I'm going to get up, I'm going to grab the remote. The result is I'll be able to sit down and change the channel. The reward is okay. There's no real consequence. Maybe I'll get up, the batteries will be dead. Maybe I'll twist my ankle. Maybe I open a business, I could lose everything I own. I got to make $1 million. And I mean, we create, I think what happens is it's not about the process. It's about the outcome. We don't have faith in the outcome. Anybody can do the process, but we're all afraid we won't achieve the outcomes we want. Does that make sense? And that's when we're taking the real risk, is when the outcomes become so big that we're afraid to attempt them. And then I guess we would call it a lack of faith. And maybe I know the fact that I can do it, but I also have a feeling I'm going to fail, and I don't want to take those consequences. So I don't know if that's got anything to do with what we're talking about here. I don't care. I want to let everybody know I've started writing my book. I am basing it off of my favorite. I am following my favorite author. The title of the book is Hop on Scott. And it's going to be brilliant. I'm just telling you right now.
Skip. Hipster needs to do the forward on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, Rex will be right back.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
We got to wrap it up.
You know what? It's funny that I will say that I've not written because it's not because I didn't have faith I could write. I know I could write. I write programs and I write trainings and I write articles and I write all that stuff. I know I can write. I know I've got a story to tell. Where I fall down is when I start thinking, if I'm not a best-selling author, then I'm nothing. I'm just going to be another schmuck with a book. If I don't make it great, somebody might read it and laugh at me. I start building all of these horrific scenarios around it. So I don't know if I have faith in my ability to do it. What I am afraid of is it's not going to be the outcome that I want. And that's why I stop. And then I tell everybody, well, I can't write. I don't know how to write or whatever. Does that make sense, guys?
So what if you write it, you sell one book and it saves that person's life and they become the one that saves 100,000 people's lives?
Right.
Oh, damn it, Scott.
Yeah. So you have no excuse.
Yeah.
Damn it, Rick. We're doing damn it's everywhere today.
Well, that's exactly. Yeah, that's the that's the name of the show next week, the Damn It Hour. So no, but I mean, Scott, the reality is, you're not writing it to become, the Pulitzer Prize winner. You're not writing it to sell the most books ever. You're not writing it to do that. You're writing it to have impact. And once you write it and release it, it's not up to you how much impact that creates. And if it's only that one person, would that be enough? If that person then went on, you started the ripple, they carried it forward. So again, I mean, the shit, I've written 18 books, and I only say that because nobody knows that,
Right?
Because I've done a poor job. I wrote the book and then didn't promote them. I mean,
But at least you did them. You got them off your chest. You did them.
Well, that's just it. It was more a matter of information dump at many points and things like that. But at the same time, a couple of them have impacted a number of people very significantly. It's all worth it.
And Scott, that's exactly the point I was trying to make, is that we create scenarios that almost are impossible to reach so that we won't get started on things. And then we call it I can't, or I don't have faith in myself, or whatever it might be. The truth is that our motivations are almost more important than our beliefs and our abilities. If I'm motivated to write a book because I want to share just some things I learned, and I don't care how many people see it, I just like to share it. That's a whole different animal than saying, I want to write a book and I want to be famous. I want the whole world to know my name because of this book I wrote, and it goes there. So that's what I'm saying is that's where we kind of shut ourselves down and we call it a lack of faith. It's really not what it is. It's unrealistic expectations and blown out motivations that aren't healthy. Not healthy for me.
I don't know that it's motivations as much as it's intentions.
Intentions.
What's your intention? What's your intention for putting that information out? And again, if it, number one, clears you out, allows you to do that brain dump and get that information out. If it's cathartic for you to write it. I mean, there were some things when I wrote That Sucks that it was like, wow, I was holding on to that and I didn't know until I wrote about it. And then I was like, well, that would be dumb to continue to hold on to that. Why, why? Yeah. And so as long as your intentions are in the right place, you've got a desire to, clear your mind, clear your heart, create some positive impact, do some different things in that way. I mean, you've accomplished it all. It's the same. We do this every week, and we come into this show and we sit and go, well, what's the show going to be? Are we going to be goofy? Are we going to be serious? Are we, we never know what it is. But I have yet to get a call from Barry afterwards that go, hey, you were really off topic there tonight. I mean, what the hell was that? What kind of crap is that? Now I get that call from Rex all the time, but not from Barry.
Hey, Scott, I don't have your number.
You've been blocked anyway. You've been blocked.
Barry. There's a reason. No,
we're down to, we got 5 minutes, so I'd love to do a go around real quick and definitely give everybody a chance. And a lot of great information. I this show, we could do 3 or 4 hours every time we sit down with these topics and go on, but it's actually probably better that we just we leave little snips, little trinkets of what we have, and people
Nuggets.
pick up what they want to pick up. Yeah, little breadcrumbs, exactly, and I really like that. So let's go around and start. Barry, why don't we start with you for our wrap ups?
Oh, goody. Okay. The phrase faith and mustard seed showed up for me, and I'm not a biblical scholar on that sort of stuff. But the thing is, I will say, is that faith doesn't have to be big. Faith, as I said earlier, it's like we have faith in all the small stuff. Why can't we have faith in the small stuff and just treat treat the big stuff like the small stuff, sort of thing, Or the other way of putting it is, don't sweat the small stuff, and then think about it's all small stuff. That idea. So having faith in yourself to be able to do stuff, that you can take action, you can reach out and love somebody. I mean, that's one of my things about, if we could love each other more than we did yesterday, we change the planet. So having faith in love, having faith in connection, having faith in people, for me, it makes my day better, frankly. I have faith when I go to the store that I'll get a smile from somebody or I'll smile at somebody else. That sort of faith is very easy to handle, easy to use, easy to be. And if you just do that with your neighbors, with people you care about, you can change the planet.
I couldn't agree more.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go by Scott real quick. And I wanted to make mention again that he's going to be on the Find It show tomorrow with our one and only Debbie Bettendorf. And
that's 7:00 Eastern, right?
It's 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock Eastern.
8 o'clock Eastern.
Yes.
Where so we can find it.
Find it, yeah.
There it is.
On YouTube, and look for Find It.
Right,
Debbie Bettendorf.
Yeah.
Well, as I'm honored to be on this show, will be honored to be on that show tomorrow. It'll be great. It'll be a lot of fun.
They have a great producer over there too.
I have heard that, and very non-self-promoting producer. But it's all of this is a wonderful opportunity to not only share from our foundation, wherever we learned or whatever we learned, whenever we learned it, but also to learn more and to get different viewpoints. If the world would just sit and have some conversations like this, and we don't always agree and we don't always come from the exact same place, but the bottom line is at the end, we all giggle a little bit, have some fun, and go, yeah, you know what? This was a great hour. And I think that's the biggest part of all of it. If we would just have the intention to put positivity and some good things in the world, I think some amazing things. I know some amazing things will happen.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I love that. And look at Scott. You want to read what Debbie put?
Yeah, Debbie says when you put Barry's book title up beside Scott Schilling's book, you end up with 50 ways to love your lover, and that sucks. What now?
and then Debbie finishes,
and then you have to go to, I'd rather live life on my terms after you get done with all of that. All right.
Very nice. Very nice.
Well done, Debbie.
Well done.
I see a collaboration coming here, guys.
That's right.
Yeah, like my fridge magnets.
Rex, what do you think, brother?
Well, first, let me say I have faith in my dogs. A very beautiful, straight, young female dog came up to my girl, and they met and kissed and were very friendly. She didn't have a collar, and I wanted to go out and try and get the dog. Apparently, it's a neighbor's dog, and they called it back, so that was good. But here's the deal that I think is that I get to share space with you guys every week or whenever we're together. And I couldn't be happier about that. And I'm certainly not right. It's not about rightness. It's about possibilities and becoming fascinated and becoming curious to listen to all of us who are discussing, or those people who show up in the chat room, to try on different ways of thinking and being and doing, and, so that we can have. So it's an exploration, and exploration for me is always an adventure. So each week here is an adventure, and it's what do we discover along the way? We discover each other a little bit more, or
Yep.
One person practices this, another person practices that. That's what the life is all about. It's like, how many foods in the world have we not tried? Because we don't know they exist, or how many spices, or how many ways of preparing a dish that we eat all the time. We just don't know. So there's so much goodness and so much wonderfulness and so much discovery to entertain, that, we can only barely tiny, snowflake on the tip of Mount Everest, discuss a topic here in the time that we have, or even maybe in a lifetime. But I'm very pleased to be here, and I learn stuff every week. So thank you, everyone.
Aw.
Agreed.
Well, with that, we've run out of time, and I think the panel got to talk, and that's all that matters to me. Scott, anything else you want to say before we leave?
That's all good. I can tell you this, though. I don't know how much faith I have in humanity, but I do have faith that everything has a purpose. And if it didn't have a purpose, it would not exist, including people. The only thing I can do is fulfill my purpose to the best of my abilities and connect with as many people as I can along the way. And connecting with you guys has been a joy. As always, Lynn, I love you. And thanks, everybody, for joining us.
Love everybody. Okay, we'll see you next week. Thanks for being here. And tomorrow we'll get to know Scott Schilling a little bit and come over and ask questions. So see you later, everybody.
Keeping me safe and sound.